Hello to all the children and parents of the English-speaking world. My name is Juan, and I am Pa, and I am Blo, and we're all together going to tell you a story. Before that, I want to tell you that I've written 30 short stories, original, creative, that I made up many years ago to make my two little sons sleep, who now are grown. But they are a marvel anyway. My stories teach values in order to grow up as a morally good person. The good news is that I made the decision of narrating them and of making videos of them. So here it is, story number 6, The Flowerpot Family. Certain house had a main hallway connecting many rooms to the left. To the right, it had a living and a dining room thanks to enormous hollow spaces in the shape of arches. On the bottom of these spaces there were flower pots with plenty lush bushes, very well kept. "Mom, when does it rain?" asked a little voice from the second flower pot. "In a few more minutes, Sonny. Get inside so she won't see you," answered a mother's voice. In this flower pot lived a family of tiny persons who weren't taller than the size of an ant, and one of these bush trunks was their home. This bush house wasn't a luxurious place. They had scanty furnishings, beds made out of fibers and leaves. Their chairs were simply stools of the same wood from twigs collected and trimmed by the head of the family. He sculpted the wood to make furniture with rudimentary sharp stones. "Rain, hide out," the father alerted. Over the flower pot, the housekeeper gently sprinkled pulverized water with a spray container. She also used the same bottle to spill water, removing its cap. This way, a water layer remained over the flower pot's soil. "Now, Daddy, may I pull the boat out?" asked Timonal eagerly. "Wait until the lady leaves and go out navigate a while. Remember to not go too far," he warned. "Yes, Dad. The water evaporates and mud remains. I am aware," the boy answered. "The mud would hamper that he could come back home safe and sound, becoming easy prey for ants." These insects were the worst enemies against which the protagonist family had to confront. They were used to defeat them by hitting their delicate antennae and eyes with weapons made of pebbles and twigs. The thing is that a bad day, when his parents were having a rest after lunch, Timonald felt like enjoying freedom. "My parents exaggerate a lot. I don't see danger where there is only fun," expressed the little captain. He considered that he wasn't so young as to live under the protective shadow of his parents, and believed he was ready to give himself orders. Besides, it was all about going in a fast ride to the flower pot's rim and return before they could notice. "I don't need to ask them for permit to navigate. I am very careful," continued Timonald. Wrong! The watering that day left the water particularly shallow because the day was hot and the liquid fastly turned into steam. The ride was done just the same, and on his way back he rode carefully, circling the mud mounds that were showing up too much until he ran aground. He couldn't come unstuck since the roar buried too deep. "How annoying this mud's habit of sucking everything that gets in," grieved Timonald. He had been taught that if one puts the feet in, one could sink enough as to put one's life at risk. But this lesson was forgotten because he needed to be back home soon. Then he put his feet in anyway to pull his roar out, and both roar and leg got stuck. The bad thing was what only one leg was holding the watercraft, because his hands were grabbing the roar. What happens in these cases? Always the worst! He slipped off the boat and got away from it. The mud was sucking him because Timonald was striving hard to release himself from the trap. When seeing his efforts made it worse, he got nervous. "What the heck? Can this disaster be even worse?" said the angry captain. "Of course it can." An ant was prowling along the flower pot's edge. It was the perfect occasion to cry out for help. "Mom! Dad! I am buried! I can't get out! An ant is coming to eat me! Help me, please!" Abruptly interrupting his rest, the father went out in his search on one raft kept for emergency. His mother fastly walked on the few dry soil areas towards him. Already some ants were watching the boy defenseless. "Don't you move, son, otherwise you'll fall deeper. We're after you," yelled the desperate parents in the distance, making their way through thick waters. The only good thing about this desperate situation is that a draft pushed the stranded boat towards Timonald. He seized the chance to hang on the watercraft and pulled his imprisoned legs out of the mud. "Daddy, I set myself free of the mud and I am in the boat. But there is too much mud in front of me. If I circle the obstacle, I'll be going directly to where the ants are stalking me," the little disobedient captain cried out. Meanwhile, the mother couldn't make it forwards. She yelled at her husband, saying she would come back home because she had an idea. In less than a minute, she let them know that she was on the way, moving forward over the mud. "My love, why don't you fall deeper? You seem to float," cried her husband. She created a way to get to her son, carrying many dry leaves that she was tearing apart and placing in pieces on the mud, as if they were leaf flagstones. Thus she managed to step on them and not on the mud. Moreover, her light weight helped a lot. Finally, the mother could reach her son and hug him. However, there was no time for love displays because about tens of ants had gathered and moved on the back of their mates as a chain. Some threw themselves into the mud and others walked over them. With his roar, Timonald heard the antennae of two ants that were showing their pincers to bite him. Using the same rustic flagstones, mother and son fled at full speed until returning home safe and sound. The same moving technique was learned by the ferocious insects, though their speed was reduced because not all their legs stepped on the leaf slabs. The others dipped in the mud. While this pursuit was occurring, the father made it to the trunk and began to fight against the ants that arrived menacing. Showing great courage, he broke several leg joints of the aggressive insects and split some jaws with small pebbles. "Daddy, please, come closer and get into the house now," yelled the son desperately. Before the others came, he managed to escape through the main door. "Help me bottle this up so they can't enter," cried the father, sweating. After the situation calmed down a bit, Timonald felt guilty and started to sob. His parents hugged him and calmed him down, saying that lessons of life are sometimes learned by facing up the difficulties, not always by teaching with mere words. After a long hour of tense wait, the ants gave up and withdrew from the flower pot. Timonald had his cheeks filled with tears and said, "I humbly beg your pardon. I promise to not put your life at risk anymore." As the years went by, he became more and more cautious and never experienced an emergency like that again. What lesson does this story teach us? The value of prudence, that is useful to be cautious and to not take unnecessary risks. It communicates that danger is everywhere, and in order to not suffer accidents, we have to prevent it. Finally, it teaches us that the permission denied by our parents to do something we want is a warning from anything bad it might occur. Well, dear children and parents, if you liked this story, it would be very good to me if you rate it with a like just below at right. The most important of all, please share this video with your friends. That way, all the English-speaking families of the entire world will know about this amusing story. Please click on this curved arrow below at left. And if you want to know when will I upload more story videos, subscribe to my channel by clicking on the red rectangle that is down at left. In case you want to share with me on the social networking, here are the main addresses. See you till the next story. Bye bye.